Let me say welcome to Back the Culture Show, the Jamaica National Heroes Series. Tonight the series continues, where we celebrate another hero, another national hero. Tonight we celebrate George William Gordon. We have some great guests lined up for you. You will be learning something this evening, eh? But do me a quick favor. Text somebody right now, call somebody. Tell them it's time for Back the Culture Show. Let me say thank you to the team that worked so hard in putting this together. But before I go back to Master Control, as we celebrate George William Gordon, play a few songs for you. Back the Culture Show. That's who we are celebrating tonight, George William Gordon, our national hero, telling their stories from our perspective.
So that we can really live. When a man gives his life, tell me now, what more can he give? Oh yeah.
He made the ultimate sacrifice.
George William Gordon. Oh yeah. He was dedicated. He didn't beg no pardon. Oh no. He was dedicated. Yeah.
As we back the culture. We have climbed some of the hills, been in some of the valleys, but we still stand strong.
Only Rasta can liberate the people over hills and valleys too. Don't let them fool you. Don't believe for a minute that they are with you. Jah free the people over hills and valleys too. Don't let them fool you. Don't believe for a minute they don't like you. Why try to make I unhappy? Really, I don't know. If it was up to them, my friend, we would never see the sun or the snow. Through that mystical communication within, we keep on coming together. I love to see brothers and sisters looking out for one another. That's the way it should be, not contrary. Stop tearing down each other. Only Rasta free the people over hills and valleys too. Don't let them fool.
We are building.
Don't believe 1 minute that they are with you. Shall free the people over hills and valleys too.
Welcome to Back the Culture Show. Celebrating
Don't believe
George William Gordon.
With you, our drugs don't do. You just behaving like they want you to, yeah. I say, arrogance is much different from ignorance, and I know you feel the same way too. Many live this life without having a clue. No reason why they are so sad and blue. Places to go, so much things to do. Not a moment to reflect on the cycle of life, yeah. Who free the people over hills.
Before I go back to master control,
Don't let them fool you. Don't believe for a minute.
his life, his legacy.
Life is one big road.
George William Gordon.
Sign. One big road with lots of
Back to culture show.
sign and both sides. Come on, come on. Life is one big road with lots of sign. Sign and both sides. I'm gonna make up my mind to face reality all the time.
Eternal Father, bless our land. Guard us with thy mighty hand. Keep us free from evil eyes. Be our light through countless eyes. To our leaders, great defender, grant true wisdom from above. Justice, truth be ours forever. Jamaica, land we love. Jamaica, 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 land we love. Teach us true respect for all. Stir response to duty's call. Strengthen us the weak to cherish. Give us vision lest we perish. Knowledge send us, heavenly Father. Grant true wisdom from above. Justice, truth be ours forever. Jamaica, land we love. Jamaica, 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 land we love.
Hi, this is Steve Higgins, and I'd like you to join us as we celebrate Jamaica's 60th anniversary of independence. So this is the Steve Higgins Productions Diamond Jubilee Tour, which we launched on the 18th of April under the distinguished patronage of the Consulate General of Jamaica to Miami, Oliver Mayer, and with the support of the Jamaica Tourist Board. We started our tour in Houston, Texas, where we delivered workshops on Jamaican folk music, as well as our signature concert downtown Houston.
This long time can me never see you. Come make me hold your hand. Give me love, have a lion heart. Give me love.
We continue on the 4th of June when we go to Birmingham, Alabama with our Jamaican folk music workshops as well. And then we journey to Huntsville, Alabama, where we'll give a ticketed concert. On Sunday the 5th, we'll also give a ticketed concert again at the Birmingham Museum of Arts before going to New York when on the 17th of June, under the distinguished patronage of the Consulate General of Jamaica to New York, will be our patron. And we'll do that in collaboration with Hope Wade Designs. On the 18th of June, we'll have a signature event at the Manor Club of Pelham, starring Delia Winter, April Marr, and yours truly. And we do this before heading to London and to Birmingham, UK. So join us. We'll be in your neck of the woods. We're going to be in Alabama, North Carolina, South Carolina, California. We're going to be all over the USA. So please join us as we celebrate Jamaica 60. Excitement.
I better run.
Ladies and gentlemen, this year Jamaica celebrates 60 years of independence. It's a big deal. Significantly for this 5K walk run, it's going to take place simultaneously in 5 cities. You heard that correctly, 5 cities. So we're going to be in Miramar, we're going to be in Orlando, we're going to be in Atlanta, Houston, and Arizona. You heard correctly. I don't think this has ever been done before. 5 cities simultaneously. Please register and support. All proceeds in aid of the Adopter Clinic program in Jamaica.
Back in the days you were a kid, but not anymore. I look at him there up on a girl store. Some say it's about Jamaica High Five. They don't know it's all about the 5K run walk. When? The Saturday, May the 7th, man. 2022. Our life never easy. Could I write books? Amount of things will happen. Could I make your trip? And we are going to run it off. The 5K run going to come out. Mad so.
Hey, it's your girl, Jacinth Headlam, author, actress, and film producer. And I just want to come by real quick to remind you for go and register for Jamaica High Five 5K Run Walk. Whether you want to come, have fun, walk, skip, dance, run, whatever, be there or be square.
I am registered and I'll encourage everyone, no matter where you're from, just give back to a great initiative.
Going to www.jamaica5krun.com. High five.
Run! The Jamaica High 5K Run is presented by Duke and the Jamaican Kitchen and Memorial Healthcare. Sponsored by Carib Shopper and Best Dressed Chicken.
The Jamaica Heroes Modernized project is about reviving and modernizing the portrayal of Jamaica's national heroes. What we're doing is we're taking the story for heroes and we're going to immerse the world into who they were and the Jamaican culture. We're going to be doing that with film, with music, fine art paintings, a digital platform, and print. The film is going to take you on a journey across Jamaica, from Negril Point to Moran Point, mountains, valleys, rivers. Jamaica is not just a beach. I want to show you Jamaican culture and lifestyle for the whole world to see. And in addition to that, we also are taking the story for heroes and putting it in song. Some of our heroes, like Sam Sharp, for example, doesn't have a song. And so we're going to change that. And we're going to be doing that with all genres of Jamaican music. That's mento, ska, rocksteady, reggae, dancehall, and really create something that people can listen to, vibe with, and that will live way past the time when that is created. We're still listening to Bob Marley music today, and he's been dead for quite some time, and we'll be listening to his music 100 years from now. And so we hope to create songs about our heroes that will transcend time. In addition to that, we've also taken those black and white images of our heroes, those black and white sketches of people like Sam Sharp and Queen Nanny, and the black and white images of our other heroes, and transformed them into fine art paintings, vibrant fine art paintings that portray them in a more lifelike way and really draw you in, and so also more appealing, if you will, to the younger generation and those people that want to appreciate art in that way. And then of course, the younger generation and everybody today, you're probably watching this show right now on Facebook or some digital platform, YouTube, or our website, Jamaica National Heroes. And so what we've done is we've taken the content and are taking the content of our heroes, centralizing it and aggregating it in one place. So all you have to do is go to JamaicaNationalHeroes.com and you'll find all the information about our heroes in one place. So by making it accessible, it'll be easier for you to find it, and that information, of course, we're also adding to it because we have these incredible historians and scholars and academia and cultural stalwarts who've taken many years to do research about our heroes so that we can now have that information. But even though they've done that research, it's not accessible to the public. And so a part of this project is taking that information and bringing it to the public. A lot of the stories about our heroes and about our history has been painted with the colonizer's lens, right? And so by us taking ownership of that as Jamaicans, we get a chance to be the one to tell that story. And so we encourage the Jamaican community. It's not about Jamaicans that live in Jamaica alone, but whether you live in Jamaica or you live afar, you are part of the Jamaican community, and this project is for you. And we want you to get behind it and support what we're doing. And so we've created some amazing products for you to be able to get involved and get immersed in it, right? We've created things for the women, some beautiful silk scarves for the women so they can tie their head with it like Queen Nanny, or wear it around their neck fashionably, however they want to. We've also created some puzzles for the kids that they can use to put together and, as a family event, to teach them about the heroes, right? And if you don't know the information to pass on to them, we also have a little QR code on the images that you can scan, takes to the website, tells you all the information about the hero. So we encourage you to log on to backtheculture.com. That's the website you can go to see that, and back the culture with us and support us. We have an amazing show planned for you tonight, and they're going to be having a very vibrant conversation tonight with one of Jamaica's leading social historians, the one and only Professor Vereen Shepherd. So encourage you right now to click on that share link so that you can share with your friends and pass that information. Make sure you're following us on Instagram and on Facebook. That's at Jamaica National Heroes. Log on to the website and stay tuned. Every single month, the last Wednesday of every month, we're going to be having the Back the Culture show, where we're going to be featuring one of our heroes, building up into the Jamaica 60th celebration. So stay tuned for the show. Stick around. We're not going anywhere. I'm going to turn right over to Professor Vereen Shepherd.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Vereen Shepherd, and it's my pleasure to be hosting yet another in this series of going in search of our national heroes and our heroine. So we continue what I call another version of the In Search of series that Cabo Matt Kero and I initiated in 2007. But this time, we are in search not just of icons and important Jamaicans and Caribbean heroes and heroines, but we are specifically in search of more information on the 6 national heroes and the one Dege Dege national heroine of Jamaica, especially as modernized and reinterpreted visually by Charles Smart. Now we have a stellar panel to focus on George William Gordon this time around. And in fact, at this time, I ask each one of our panelists to introduce himself to the audience. Now I know that many already know each of you, but you know how we always have new fans. So let me start with Reverend Thwaites. Just a quick intro.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ronnie Thwaites. I'm the current principal of St. Michael's College at the University of the West Indies. I am the great-grandnephew of George William Gordon, I'm told, and I've served in the Parliament, and I'm also an attorney at law.
Thank you, Ronnie. And I go to Clinton Hutton.
Yes, greetings. I'm Clinton Hutton. Done work on Morant Bay, on George William Gordon, Paul Bogle. That period after emancipation, 1838 to 1865, even a little beyond that. I'm the director of the Institute for Technological and Educational Research at Michael University College.
Great.
Retired professor of Caribbean political philosophy.
All right. So I think we lost you for a little while, but nevertheless, let me go to Professor Godhuman for a short intro.
So I am Professor Emeritus at the University of Warwick. I've worked on the Caribbean for as long as I've known Vereen, and author of this book, which has a great deal of information on George William Gordon and the Morant Bay Rebellion, called The Killing Time.
Yes, great. I thought Ronnie was about to show us a book that he has there in his hands as well. Yes. Okay, George William Gordon, in his own words, that's wonderful. And Clinton, of course, your book is, well, it was, when did you publish that book on Morant Bay? Color for Color, Skin Skin for Skin. Can't hear me?
2015, it came out on the anniversary of it came out at the 150th anniversary of Morant Bay.
Yes, it was so well timed. And you might be saying, so why didn't I introduce myself a little bit more? Well, I'm a social historian. I'm Professor Emerita of Social History at the University of the West Indies. I'm the current director of the Institute, well, it's aspirational, the Center for Reparation Research. And I'm now the chair of the United Nations Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. And so that's me for now. Now we're talking about George William Gordon, and Ronnie Thwaites, I think that's where I want to jump off, how you started. I want to know how you became aware that you're connected to George William Gordon, and tell us exactly what your personal connection to George William Gordon is. And actually, I need to hear something about his family life, as far as you know, Ronnie.
I became aware of George William Gordon through a boyhood curiosity concerning a large photograph on the wall of a family home in downtown Kingston. But this photograph had a peculiarity. It was turned back to front, and you only saw the brown paper backing of it. And I inquired and turned it around and was surprised and was chastened by a great aunt of mine not to touch that. And it was the picture that we're all familiar with of George William Gordon. But he was an embarrassment to the Davidson and then the Thwaites family, from which who were sprung from him. And they had kept his picture on the wall, but never looked at it, considered it a disgrace. This piqued my imagination, and I asked the elders in the family as much as I could about him. And unfortunately, there was very little information passing, which only increased my curiosity. Events were overtaken by the declaration of Gordon as a national hero. I became interested in the literature that was emerging, and latterly and very sporadically, I have been interested in his particular contributions in the House of Assembly, which I think indicate the range of his interest. He was thought of by the family as a class traitor and a race traitor. And I thought that at least if I was going to spend time in Gordon House, I spent almost 25 years, that I should know more about him. And I have caused this collection of some of his speeches in the House of Assembly to be done. And
Okay.
one day I hope to refine it.
So, Ronnie, do you know of any family member who looked like Gordon? Is that a true representation of him visually?
There are, yes, but it's been, genetics has watered down his descendants considerably. One person who claimed he had a facial resemblance was the late Minister of Agriculture, Keebleman, my cousin, who is sprung from the same line.
Okay. Okay, because we always wonder if these are visual representations, if they're correct, and so on. But that's fascinating. But let me, Clinton, what can you add to our knowledge of the biography of George William Gordon? And, because his birth, his parents, some of that is kind of sketchy. And I wondered if you could help to fill out some of that biographical details for us, Clinton.
Yes, it is sketchy. But by the way, the photo that is of him is really him. It was published during his time. It was published in 1865 by Harper's Magazine, a studio in Kingston, by the Jubilee brothers. So it is really him. It
So
was
tell
said
us
that he was
something more about him, about his background, his family, his father, his mother, and so on.
Yes. He seemed to have been born in 1815 thereabout. His father was a Scottish planter in Jamaica who owned and enslaved Africans in Jamaica. His mother was an enslaved woman. She was a brown woman called mulatto, a mixture of white and black. And Gordon seemed to have been close to her, had good things to say about her and her sufferings. And but not much is known about his youthful days, his boyhood days, as a matter of fact. That is George William Gordon. So he was married. I don't know about his children or anything like that.
Well, let me ask God if he has any other information from his research.
Well, I think what to add to what Clinton said, of course, the father, Joseph Gordon, was a very wealthy planting attorney. So, and as Clinton said, with a mother who was an enslaved woman. But what I think was interesting is that he early on became, George William Gordon, became a produce merchant in Kingston. He became a landowner, a very large landowner across the island. And I think it's important to note that by the early 1840s, he was a very wealthy man. He had assets that people have estimated around £10,000, which you can imagine would be a multimillionaire today. And to add to what Clinton said, he also married a white woman who ran a school in Kingston, Mary Jane Perkins.
Okay. Ronnie, I think I heard that his mother was called Anne Rattray. Am I correct?
That's what we have been told. Yes, that's what we record.
Yes.
I've seen.
Was there any whispering in the family because she was a Black woman? I mean, I know we call her mixed race or mulatto or whatever, but you know, she was a Black woman. She, you know, were there any whisperings in the family from what you can tell from people who, you know, have informed you through oral history?
Yes, but that was the bias against someone in the family who was of promise and of wealth for marrying a brown woman or an enslaved woman was secondary to the mortal sin of betraying his class and his color in the border struggle.
All right. Well, you know, I want to go to what Ronnie is talking about now, in fact, because I think Gordon came to our notice because he was hanged for his role, or let's say his alleged role, in the Morant Bay War of 1865. But the letter to his wife that he wrote before he was hanged seemed not to have indicated a knowledge of Bogle. I want each of you to reflect on this, starting with you. He never knew and worked with Bogle. He never supported Bogle's causes.
Well, of course, we know that he was very close to Bogle. We know that Paul Bogle was his electoral agent for St. Thomas in the East. We know that there was considerable correspondence between Bogle and Gordon. And there was a very close political and religious connection with Paul Bogle. So the statement in the letter, I think we have to discount on the basis that this was the writing of a man about to be hanged, perhaps to protect Paul Bogle, perhaps in hopes of saving himself. I think we have to discount that particular statement, though the letter is extremely important and very valuable.
But Clinton, if we discount that, how do we know which parts of the letter to believe and which aspects of the letter we should discount? And the line that we're talking about is this one. I don't know if I'm quoting word for word, but this is more or less the sentence in his letter. I know nothing of the man Bogle, and I never advised him to the acts that brought me to this place. Clinton, your comment on that?
Yeah, but what he was saying, he was not involved in the thing that they call the rebellion, and he was not.
But he say, I know nothing of the man Bogle.
No, the world knows that he had connection with Bogle. The authorities knew. These are things that were stated in speeches, in election campaigns. Bogle went to him to different parts of Jamaica. That is known. I think what he was pointing to was that he did not have anything to do with the incidents that took place on October 10, 1865 and after.
But Ronnie,
I think that's what you're speaking to.
Let me turn to Ronnie. How well known is this letter among the writings that you have collected, Ronnie?
Not well known at all. The letter is well known, but that particular aspect of it is not. That is clear, because that would tend to demean. First of all, it is clearly palpably untrue, as our panelists have stated, and it goes against the entire walk of his activities, certainly from 1861, 62 up to 1865. So, like the others, I write it off as the desperation of a man close to death, and more so the fact that he wasn't in St. Thomas, and although connected, certainly might not have seen or did not see himself as being an immediate instigator of what took place in Morant Bay.
But you are a reverend. You give sermons in your church. You inspire people. What is involvement or what is knowing? Because yes, you didn't shoot anyone, throw any stone. You weren't there. But let's say your philosophy, your ideologies, your closeness to the person in terms of your work. I mean, can that be interpreted, however broadly, as having influenced this man to carry out acts against injustice? Wasn't that what he would have preached?
Yes, clearly. There is an element beyond which you can't explain that particular sentence. I do not know, I do not think that it is consistent with or indicative of the entire substance of the letter to his wife.
Yes.
There is absolutely no doubt that both in terms of religious impulse and political engagement, that George William Gordon and Paul Bogle drew strength from each other.
So, all right, but let's say, you know that there has been skepticism about the elevation of Gordon to the status of a national hero of Jamaica. If this line becomes well known and so on, will it feed the group of skeptics who say, you see that? In betraying Bogle, he shouldn't be a national hero. If not that, what else feeds the kind of skepticism? Because we know that some people still don't think he should have been a national hero. How you feel about this, Agad?
I think it's wrong. I think what we know about George William Gordon makes him, should be a national hero. His position as spokesman for the freed population, the ex-slave population, his representation of people whom nobody else really represented in the House of Assembly, his role in that kind of politics, his radical politics, I think make him eminently suitable to be a national hero. So I don't agree with those people who are skeptical about his position.
Your position on this, Clinton?
I agree with Gad. I fully support him being national hero. He is in de facto, yes, he is the first, George William Gordon is the first national leader advocating for the Jamaican people, for a Jamaican path. There's no doubt about that. And there are reasons for him being that. One being that he was a landowner in many parishes in Jamaica, and as a result of that, connection to the people in that respect. Secondly, he has his own mission with church leaders in different parishes. It was at his church in Kingston that Paul Bogle was baptized, and his name is on Bogle's baptismal certificate. So the idea about not knowing is something else. But so
we need that. We need that copy. We need a copy of that, Clinton. We need a copy of that. We need to put it out right alongside this live from the letter.
Yeah. Right. So the issue, therefore, from the journey of a Jamaican political state begun with the unity of George William Gordon and Paul Bogle. And Paul Bogle was the first national leader of Jamaica in this regard. There's no doubt about it. He also advocated for the building. He advocated for the building of schools and colleges across Jamaica. That was one of the things he advocated in his writings and in his speeches. The other thing was to separate the church from the state. He was quite strident in that matter. And in fact, that's one of the reasons why they killed him. That he said in Parliament, the House of Assembly, that the government was paying £50,000 a year to the Anglican Church, and that this constitutes, I think, 20% of the taxation of the entire country, right? And that this must stop. So that in many ways, George William Gordon, who reminds me of Michael Manley, by the way, in terms of his utterances in the Jamaican Parliament. I don't think, if we look back at the history, there's anybody else to rival him. And that time in the 1860s, right? It only came during the time of Michael Manley, really.
All right, I want to ask about, and maybe I'll go back to Ronnie. What lessons can politicians learn from Gordon? Because after all, he was a politician. The parliament is named after him, Gordon House. What are the lessons for our time in terms of his political influence and lessons that politicians could learn from him running?
Well, yes, may I just say that the skepticism about Gordon being a national hero is to some extent understandable by those who do not know as much as this panel does, that a white man or a near white man could have been involved so deeply in a Black struggle. And that is understandable, but easily rebuttable as has taken place here. One of the other things, two other things I'd just like to mention was that.
But before you leave that point, Ronnie, sorry, Ronnie, before you leave that, but Bustamante would have looked the same way in terms of skin shade. You don't think so? Norman Manley, to a sense, people still laud them for their trade unionism and their 1930s involvement in the labor struggle. What's the difference?
A great difference.
Okay.
Moving from Anglican baptism into Presbyterian membership and into the native Baptist tradition involved leaps of class rejection and espousal of the popular religion and popular culture that bears no resemblance to either of the two other estimable exemplars that you mentioned, and particularly since this is what, 2.5 generations.
Yes, I know,
later.
but I had to ask because of how I know people think in terms of skin color in Jamaica. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, one of the most attractive aspects of Gordon's advocacy, which is very much in front of parliamentarians today, is the whole question of land reform. Gordon was a prime advocate for the use of idle land and the making it available without onerous taxes to the peasantry. That is an issue that was before the Parliament, I believe, yesterday, once again, and still has not been resolved. Another area of his engagement, which I have a particular affinity, is that he was one of the initiators, the founders of the Jamaica Mutual Life Assurance Society, the first of its kind in Jamaica, mutual in terms of its broad acceptance of membership of a savings and loan institution. And as it turned out, my father was the managing director there for over 20 years. What is the lesson that politicians can draw from this? One is a resolute, following Clinton, a resolute commitment to the cause of the people, a deliberate and sustained choice, a preferential option, some would call it, for the masses of the people, in favor of, or in contrast to the suck-up mentality of subservience to the white establishment, which would have been expected of him as a high-brown Jamaican. I think that struggle, slightly more melanized now and gilded around by all kinds of Westminsterism, is still the crucible of progress in Jamaica.
Okay. Now, Clinton, have we done enough then? We have helped to educate the public about Gordon on this program, and much has been written. Do you think we have done enough to honor him then? That's one.
No.
Also, sorry?
No.
The short answer is no.
No.
What heritage sites are associated with him?
We have not. Yeah.
But what sites are associated with him anyway, apart from God knows? Anything else?
Well, God knows is it. I don't know of any much thing. Well, is image on the money, the note.
Which new note he's on now? I've forgotten.
He's on the $10 change.
It's the $1,000. Eh?
No, Ronnie, he has been upgraded, man. It's not the coin anymore.
Yes.
All right. So he has been upgraded in terms of the money.
I think, yes.
But what about National Heroes Park? Ronnie, you and I met there 1 year to pay tribute to him. Not so? In National Heroes Park?
Yes, there's a shrine to
a shrine to him.
Scarcely visited shrine to Bogle and Gordon. Many of the school children who go to tour the park, the teachers find it too far a walk to the west of where they decant from the buses to really look there. But it is there, and that is a measure of tribute to the Morant-based struggle.
Yes, I've always thought though that that ceremony is too private. You know, I think on National Heroes Day or on the day he died, or you know, the day he was born. I mean, I think it should be a bigger ceremony, not just a few people gathering there to lay wreath, but that's just my thought. So Clinton, if you had your way, what more would you do for him?
For me?
If you had your way.
Yeah, no. Well, that's why I wrote a book chapter on him, but a book should be written on him. I might take that up. A book should be written on him. And there should be lectures on him to George William Gordon, but in fact to all of them.
What about in Morant Bay?
There is a way in which yes. No, he was executed there on the 23rd of October, 1865.
Right. But nothing in Morant Bay to him?
There's nothing there. There's nothing there that I can remember at all.
Yeah.
There's nothing there.
But
and
Ronnie,
something should be there.
Ronnie,
and in fact, he was buried behind in the courthouse.
Behind, yes, exactly.
Yes, with Paul Bogle. Paul Bogle was executed the day after him.
Right. But you know, we have been calling for a wall of honor out in Morant Bay. So his name would get on that. But Ronnie, is in Kingston, isn't the house up in Cherry Gardens, is it a heritage site? People go, I know it's privately owned now, but heritage sites can be privately owned, but kept up as a heritage site. I was distressed that apparently there was a little house for unrattery somewhere on the property, but that was destroyed. You know?
I too am very sorry that was the case. The great house is maintained by the present owner, who is a very strong patriotic Jamaican. But the actual place where Gordon would have been nurtured has been destroyed. I also, in terms of memorials, want to draw your attention to the heritage piece film done by Lenny Littlewhite called Time to Remember.
Oh yes.
Which is the story of Bogle and Gordon, and which is replayed usually on JIS television at around Heroes Day, but which could, I think, be upgraded and used more broadly.
My worry though is that each generation gets little and little, you know, fewer and fewer tidbits about him. History education is fading. And I think it shouldn't just be a bullet point along the way in October. And so, but Ronnie, that booklet you held up in his words, how widely available is that?
No, that's something that I and a colleague, Franklin Johnson, have been working on, and it suffers from repeated distractions, but hopefully before too long it can be refined and published.
Yes, you have it there in your hand. Can you read us something from it?
Well, I was looking at the point that Clinton was making about his criticism of the established church.
Yes.
And here is Gordon saying it is in a wretched condition. He's writing about the clergy, and yet no class of men is so well paid by the state for doing so little as a clergy. There are men among them who are living most disorderly, most improperly, and most indolent lives, and who are desecrating their high profession and being paid by the poor man for it.
Wow. Well, we need more of those thoughts. So I wish you well as you and Franklin work on it to get it published. But since we're talking about sources, God, where do we look for information on the Morant Bay War, apart from the books that you and Clinton wrote? Is there anything simpler for the children about Gordon? And I'll ask you the same question, Clinton, but God first.
Well, we need, obviously, someone has to produce something at that particular level. But one of the things that I think we haven't discussed, which I think is very important and which should be emphasized, is the nature of his arrest. Because remember that he was arrested in Kingston under civil jurisdiction. He was brought to Morant Bay because there was martial law in Morant Bay. And he gave himself up in Kingston thinking if there was a problem, he would be tried in a civil court. And of course, he was shocked to realize that he would be tried in the way that he was. And of course, he was tried, and it should be emphasized, I think, totally unjustly, in a drumhead court-martial, without proper representation, treated abysmally. And I think that we haven't talked about that, but that arrest, his treatment, that drumhead court-martial, all of that needs to be emphasized.
Well, let's go back a little then before we wrap, because I think you're making an important point. Now, I don't know if you have seen the play, The Trial of Governor Eyre, written by Bert Samuels, attorney at law, Pan-African attorney at law, Bert Samuels. Clinton, you have seen it. I don't know if you have seen it, Ronnie.
No, regretfully, I must.
Yes, well, I keep urging Bert to put it back on, at some point. But his wife gave testimony in that play, and based on the advice from Clinton and others, the play was realistic, but I think part of that was the lament that he was sick when they came for him, and that no matter how he said he wasn't actually there on the spot when the war broke out, they didn't believe him. And you have just described what happened to him. So my question is, do you think by treating him that way, they were making an example of him?
Well, they were certainly making an example of him. And what is worse is that his doctor was in around Morant Bay at the time, Dr. Major. And Dr. Major knew and said that Gordon, only had, alas, perhaps a year to live. He was a very ill man.
What was wrong with him? Do you know what was wrong with him?
I don't know specifically, but I know that Dr. Major made this point, and he looked very ill, and he clearly was very ill. That was the terrible thing. So his treatment in Kingston, under arrest, taken barbarically to Morant Bay, treated badly on the ship, treated very badly in Morant Bay, all of it speaks volumes about what people thought at the time.
Mm-hmm. Clinton, was he treated any worse than the Black people who were murdered and tried through court-martial and so on as well?
He was treated just as they were treated. He was branded a traitor. If you go back and look at the newspapers in 1865, he was a traitor, a vampire from South America. If anybody deserves to die, it is George William Gordon. The Gleaner, the colonial standard.
Could I just quote the colonial standard?
And that is why he was treated that way.
Yes, but
he was also forced. He was also.
I'll come to you in a while, Ronnie, but let Clinton finish that thought. He was what, Clinton? We lost him.
He was forced to watch executions when he was taken to Morant Bay. right?
Wow.
So you see, my view is that George William Gordon, of his class and color, was very unique.
And that's why I say that so that's why I say that they tried to equalize him with the rest of the quote unquote rebels, you know, the revolutionaries. They wanted to make a statement. You are one of them. This is how you're going to be treated. Skin color, no skin color, class, position or not.
Yes, they would not have it any other way.
Yeah.
And I mean, this man was a look, you know, as I said before, the example was made of him because he was really a national figure. He was the best known Jamaican across the island. He had to be made an example of.
Yeah. Ronnie was going to quote from the Standard, Jamaica
During
Standard.
At that time, and he read John Locke to justify some of his arguments. He read Adam Smith. He read widely. Right? He was familiar with the racist arguments of Thomas Carlyle. And his arguments run counter and try to answer some of those things, right? He talked about
perhaps follow up because they're answering from the colonial standard.
No, that's fine. The colonial standard correspondent, which I'm sure Clinton has seen, right? I regret that while I understood that British justice demands that the accused and accuser should be confronted, Mr. Gordon's accusers were 70 miles away from the court-martial. This man writing was at the trial. They set up affidavits which the court-martial received as evidence. This is one dark feature of the solemn farce. Mr. Gordon's fate had been determined long before he gave himself up.
Well, it's very important to realize that the Royal Commission investigating it said that there was no evidence to convict him. And as Clinton has said, all the evidence suggests he wasn't there, he wasn't involved, he was innocent. And he declared his innocence, actually, at the very end.
But
I'm interested.
It suited them to put him there.
Yes.
Clinton, go ahead.
And at the very end, he also said in that letter that if he was to live his life over again, he would side with the people just the same.
Yes. That would make them even more bringle, as my friend Oliver would say. You were going to make another point, Ronnie?
Apart from Semmel's book, I wonder if any of us are familiar with other work. Has there been sufficient work done on the ferment of conscience, the ferment of ideology that gripped the English and European intellectual and political scenes as a result of the 1865 rebellion, and of course Gordon's personality being kind of English or of English origin and the injustice done to him was of particular concern. Is there enough research done on that?
Good question, because I had actually started to ask both Clinton and Gad for a suggestion of sources, not only for children, you know, young people, school-age children, but also for others. So your question is very specific about the post-hanging literature, what has come out in terms of assessing what happened, but also specifically writing about Gordon, his philosophy, his fate, and so on. Do you know, can you suggest any? Was there any kind of discussion within Britain in the way that there was discussion about Eyre?
There was certainly discussion about the whole Eyre controversy, and the reason for the Eyre controversy was because of Eyre's transferring Gordon to martial law jurisdiction. That was the basis of the complaint against Eyre. It wasn't that Eyre was responsible for killing at a minimum 400 and some people. It wasn't that. It wasn't the nature of the horrible suppression that was involved. It was taking Gordon illegally out of civil jurisdiction and placing him into martial law. That's what John Stuart Mill and others sought to try Governor Eyre for. That was the problem.
Yeah, but was that correct though, Clinton, in your view?
Was that what?
Was that correct? Should that have been the dominant narrative rather than outrage at Eyre's role in, I'm not saying that that concern isn't valid. I'm just wondering, you know, if there shouldn't have been greater outrage at the totality of what happened, not just picking out that injustice to Gordon.
I think, yeah. There was outrage at the totality of the thing, but it was more specifically directed to a member of the House of Assembly who was illegally arrested and taken and hanged. That was what, and therefore in the British Parliament, for example, people like Chris Buxton, amongst others, spoke about these things. And so there was a big debate in Britain over what happened in Jamaica. And but always at the center of that, the thing that happened to George William Gordon was what was able to unite most of the opposition against the thing. There were huge meetings in Hyde Park. Karl Marx addressed a meeting in Hyde Park, which involved what happened in Morant Bay.
Bernard.
So the British working class.
You were saying, God, you were picking up on that point?
In Bernard Semmel's book, he talked about, I recall him saying something like, for weeks on end, there was nothing talked about in England except this case. So as Clinton says, it was really significant.
Well, we have to wrap, but I want to ask you, each of you, it's not just about have we done enough, but specifically because of that injustice. Should we make more of that in the reparation call? Should we be calling specifically for justice by the British for Gordon? Clinton?
Yes, in fact, Chris raised the issue of reparations for the people whose houses were burnt down or destroyed. And he raised it in Parliament. But it never went further because they assured him that it would have happened. But as it turned out, only planters were compensated. And what Chris raised in the British Parliament.
We missed the name. Clinton.
I have the document, Buxton.
Clinton, I'm so sorry. We missed the name because you're in and
Christopher
out.
Buxton.
Oh, I see. Yes. Okay.
Yes. Christopher Buxton, right? So and his speech in Parliament is available.
Yes.
I think I have it somewhere here. So
well,
yes,
walk with it to your reparation
can be raised.
Walk with it to your reparation meeting, right? And let us make sure that in the whole narrative and claim we specify that as well. But okay, I want to ask you finally, each of you. We have been talking about George William Gordon, and in the series, we have spoken about Queen Nana, or Nanny, as people call her, Paul Bogle, Sam Sharp, and we have others to talk about. Is it time to add it to the number of national heroes, and should we change the criteria so that others can fit? So I'm going to go to each of you. Ronnie, what do you think?
I don't
Time
think
for
so.
more?
No, I think there's a distinct, two things. One, there's a distinct character called, which might be called a national icon, someone who has distinguished themselves in a particular field of endeavor to the pride of the nation. I believe that the designation of national hero, however, ought to be reserved for somebody who has exhibited great sacrifice, if not the sacrifice of their life, certainly their entire career, and has borne travail as a result of it because of their national spirit or their religious conviction.
Okay, God?
I think that in the future it might be possible to widen the net. Of course, Gordon, Bogle, Nane, Sam Sharp, great. But there are people we don't know about. There are people that we need to work on. And I'm sure that future historians will come across people who fit Ronnie Thwaites' bill.
Who are you
Marley.
thinking about, Clinton?
Marley.
Bob Marley.
Yes.
Yes.
I am
But
utterly
in
convinced.
terms of the genre that Ronnie seems to have been referring to, I was thinking that there's a lobby now for Chief Techi or Taki to be made a national hero because of the 1760 war. The 1760 war against slavery that started in my parish of Jamaica, St. Mary, it was far more widespread and had tentacles that we have not even begun to study. So among that group, I think he could qualify. The problem is that there were several leaders and there were several people who took on the struggle after 1760, stretching back to Westmoreland with Opongo or Wager, you know, and there was also Chief Jamaica, Chief Kingston, and others. There were these Ghanaian headmen and chiefs. So
and the Queen, and
that's
the Queen.
And Queen Kuba, yes, Queen Kuba. The thing is, that's why increasingly I keep saying, Wall of Honor, Wall of Honor. One hand alone can't clap. Put all the names that we know on a Wall of Honor, even if we have a special place for the Ghanaian chiefs who are there. But let's come to your Bob Marley. And Miss Lou, what about Miss Lou?
Yes. No,
I'm with you now, Clinton.
Yes. Back to 1760 though, Taki. I think one of the important juncture to note with that uprising is the fact that it is really the first Pan-African anti-slavery uprising we have had in Jamaica.
Yes.
It is really the first Pan-African type of uprising.
As opposed to the Maroon Wars.
I think that it's historical importance.
Yes, yes. So people are saying it's the first war, but then you have the Maroon Wars were there as well. But you're talking about a deeper unity. So
yes,
there's even there.
The one that was able to unite different ethnicities, African ethnicities,
and go beyond Jamaica, and go beyond Jamaica. In fact, because you had, you know, 1763, 1765, 1824, and also in Guyana, you know, in Berbice, 1763, 1823, and right, a Haitian Revolution between those. So I think we need to, the problem is that we don't know enough biographical details, and you know, people always want to know the biographical details. They can put some face and character to the hero. But
which is why Clinton's suggestion of Bob Marley is great.
Yes. So, but I'm wondering if Ronnie would be putting Bob Marley and Miss Lou into the icon group and not the heroes group. Am I putting you on the spot, Ronnie?
No, you're not. That would be my distinction. Although one could, if you didn't have that distinction accepted, it would be a short hop to accepting Bob Marley as a national hero. But
Yeah.
Frankly, I feel that there is need for that second category. It's not an inferior category. I love the idea of the Wall of Honor, but we're going to have a succession, hopefully, of people who really do us proud and honor in their achievements. But it's quite different when a person puts
Yes.
their life on the line.
My argument was that we perhaps will not have that group of people anymore who will be putting their lives on the line for a war, or defending Jamaica in a war, or trying to make some revolutionary change. But my solution would be to broaden the definition of who should be a national hero and stretch beyond ending of enslavement, the labor movement, the franchise movement, independence, stretch it to people who are involved in it, who carried on the decolonial struggle, the struggle for decolonization. And no one can tell me that Bob Marley did not carry on the struggle for decolonization, and Miss Lou and some others, and even some from the 1930s, like St. William Grant, and Father Coombs, who were not given their true honor, But anyway, we have to leave it there. Thank you so much for chatting with me this evening. I'm very sorry that we couldn't link up with the fantastic, knowledgeable Swithin Wilmot, who would have rounded out this discussion, but maybe a one-to-one with Swithin some other time. So thank you, Ronnie Thwaites. Thank you, God Human. Thank you, Clinton Hutton. And thank you, Charles Smart. You hear me? I call you that now. Anyway, I know you call yourself different things, Mark Pie, Mark Smart, whatever you call your name today. Thank you so much for what you do and for giving us this opportunity. So this is Vereen Shepherd saying, walk good and goodbye for now. Thank you so much, everyone.
That's great. That's great.
As children, we learn the true meaning of being a hero. Being a hero requires great sacrifice for others, not just ourselves. We learned about the heroes of Jamaica's past and how much of themselves and their lives they had to give in building a nation we should be proud to call home. They believed in a Jamaica that was more than just a country, more than just an island, more than land surrounded by water. They believed in a dream of a free nation of people, a nation built on the foundation of their sacrifices, a nation of many people working as one, a nation that would continue to produce legends and nation builders that serve towards that vision. As children, we were also taught the national pledge, a solemn promise, an undertaking. I would like to believe Sir Hugh Sherlock, while writing this pledge, understood the vision and dreams of our heroes. It's clear being a hero is too much to ever ask any one citizen. Luckily, the pledge does not require heroics of any of us. It merely asks that we honor our heroes by striving to advance our nation and ultimately inspire the world, like they and many Jamaicans have done. It's important we remember those words. These words. Before God and all mankind, I pledge love and loyalty of my heart, the wisdom and courage of my mind, the strength and vigor of my body in service of my fellow citizens. I promise to stand up for justice, brotherhood, and peace, to work diligently and creatively, to think generously and honestly, so that Jamaica may, under God, increase in beauty, fellowship, and prosperity, and play her part in advancing the welfare of the whole human race. Jamaican born and raised on this land, maybe you will remember saying those words, singing that song in a classroom or some general assembly. If so, like me, you made a pledge. Somehow it seems like many of us have forgotten that. The crime and violence, the indiscipline and short-sightedness, the corruption, the lack of respect for beautiful lands we are blessed with, and the waters that surround and nurtures us. We have to do better. Let us honor our heroes so that they would not have sacrificed so much in vain. I hope this video can make a difference to even one soul. If so, it would all be worth it. If you feel the way I do, share it. May my voice become yours. Thanks for watching.
Wow. Let me say that again. Wow, wow. What a great presentation. So many great nuggets of information. Thank you so much to the team. You did a great job this evening. Thank you so much to the guests. They gave us such great information. All the viewers, we say thank you also. But without you, it's not possible. Back to Culture Show. The work continues, but we are soldiers in this army. Celebrating Jamaica National Heroes. Tonight, we celebrate George William Gordon.
The pressures of a life and it tough. No stay down, mama, time pick it up. No bother with the down, full style, strictly up, full vibes. I pick it up when the bills, them, the rent and the mortgage due. Yeah. When me chalice, when your best friends are gone and it's only you. Yeah. Light up a split, turn up the music. Skanking sweet, everybody wanna feel like free. Forget your troubles and the feel a reggae music sweet, yeah. Skanking sweet. Everybody wanna feel like free. Forget your troubles and the rock with me. You know feel a reggae music sweet, yeah. Skanking sweet. For every pain there's where there's a harmony that brings everything together. So make
listen to this part right now.
And who said life no order? And every man got this struggle. I beg you to help me, Lord, and let me overcome my struggles. Can't conceive that everybody wanna feel like free. Forget your troubles and the rock.
The Back to Culture Show.
You know, feel a reggae music sweet, yeah.
Thanks so much, each and every one. Looking forward to seeing you next time.
Me love Jamaica, me not sell out. Them try clip we wings, somehow we can't fly out. But when we there yard, nothing nice like Jamaica. Roast breadfruit and banana. Under the tree with a glass of lemonade. Jumping on the river when me ready for bed. No boy can't buy me out. Me no foreign minded, no way compared to Jamaica. Jamaica love. We wanna feel Jamaica love.
That's how we're back to culture.
Everybody.
That's how we celebrate our national heroes. Because we love our country. Out to many one people.
Jamaica love.
We're looking what we Talawa.
Jamaica love.
Everything is Irie.
The one that represent the citizens of Jamaica. Jamaica love, Jamaica. Represent where you're born. Tune up hurricane and storm. From the time rate chop, me no matter about tax man, still a hustler than a gone. Jamaican have the link to the link. They can Canadian, American, England. Make sure say when they are foreign and hustle, mama visit Western Union. Don't make we build up with foundation. All the hard man them fear of ambition. Don't flash out all the money back SSP. Anything guns and ammunition. Real Jamaican no show me you want. No matter which part of the world where you stand.
Gonna send you back to Master Control.
Without Lord, come proud to be one.
As we wrap up on this this show tonight.
Jamaica.
Once again, thank you so much.